financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is disability update and post-COVID business issues. Brian Small, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Linden.
Good morning.
Jim Zamasco.
Morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Kirshner.
Teddy.
Jeffrey, seems as though disability update is the first topic for today, and you're the disability expert. Tell us what's new out there.
People are still getting disabled, Ken. Back to you.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I guess I'm glad to hear that for your sake.
Yes.
If people were not getting disabled, what would you be doing as a disability attorney?
I would be Brian's mental health coach or something, because that would give me a lot of work. Disability update. So, workers' compensation, good news is that finally, after a year plus, we're finally able, as of mid-July, to go back in person 100%. Now, they're taking some precautions court-wise with regard to some plexiglass, whatever, but we are now welcome to be back in court.
Will that expedite the process of adjudicating claims?
Yes, it should. It should make people more responsive. They can't just hide in their offices or at home, wherever they're maybe taking calls or not taking calls. They actually have to come to court and respond to judges. More importantly, it gives people who I represent more of a leg to stand on, because now we have the threat of going to trial. That's the one thing insurance carriers are always scared of having to respond to trial about bad results for them, and now we have the ability to take the matter to trial.
Puts the calendar in play again.
So yes, and puts more pressure on insurance carriers.
What's going on with COVID-related claims for work? How does that work? If you had COVID from work, is that a claim, a workers' comp claim?
It absolutely is. Just like an ordinary disease, there are presumptions right now, first of all, for any first responders. There's presumptions. The presumption is that you attained or got COVID at your workplace. So for first responders, people who are working in emergency rooms, even firefighters, police officers who have to respond to some illnesses, there is that presumption. So that's a good thing. For other people,
is it the same for essential workers?
The
McDonald's worker?
It is not for essential workers, though. It's for first line workers. So it's not, unfortunately, not for everyone who came to work, but at least gives people a break, because there's always an issue at first. People who are responding to the emergencies who had to actually.
When they say it's a presumption, is it a rebuttable presumption?
It's always, anything's always rebuttable.
So the insurance company can still fight it and make a fact issue out of it.
Well, they always can, but it's hard when you're talking about people who are working in emergency rooms, where police officers, firefighters who are exposed. So that's a good thing. The hard part is now anyone working on the line at Ford Motor Company or working at a steel mill, you can make a claim for COVID. It's a work-related disease that you get. The hard part with COVID, though, right now is the issue of causal relationship, because you could get COVID from anywhere, from the grocery store, from your family member.
So you have to prove it was work-related.
That's correct. It's more likely than not that it was related
What's your damage claim? Is it lost work, or what is it?
Yeah, it's twofold, just like any other claim. You've got two elements. One is wage loss. If you're off of work for 2 weeks or longer because of that, you get comp for every week that you're off of work. Number two, and a lot of times more significant, is your medical. Because medical can be astronomical, especially, we don't know what the long-term effects are of COVID, and if you have some other damage that needs medical care, well, that's covered under workers' compensation. If you prove it's a work-related condition, all the medical related to your COVID treatment is covered under comp.
So if you have health insurance and you also have a work-related COVID injury, and your health insurance would cover you on the COVID, how does that interplay with the two of them?
Well, so a lot of times, if the insurance carrier is disputing the claim, a lot of health carriers like Blue Cross, may pay it first, and then they would have a lien on the case if you pursue a claim. They want their money back if you get money from the insurance carrier. So it all depends. Sometimes, though, you may have a health carrier that says, wait, you're claiming it's work-related, so we're not going to pay it. So it's a little dicey area, but just like any other injury or disease that's being disputed by an insurance carrier, when you have private insurance as to whether or not they will pay.
So
Yeah, but
yeah,
you've got the private insurance, but you're not working anymore. Your private insurance is paid for by your employer. Now workers' comp kicks in, and you effectively don't have a job anymore. I mean, so is the employer still paying the health insurance on top of the fact?
Well, that's just like anything else, and that gets to be the hard part. If you're off of work for a significant period of time, there's no inherent right to have your benefits continue, your fringe benefits, including health insurance. So you see that all the time where people who are off for 30 days or greater, all of a sudden, well, you're not terminated, but we're stopping your benefits because you haven't been back to work, and then they lose their eligibility for health insurance, and they say, okay, you can still have it if you COBRA in, but you don't have the money coming in income-wise to pay the premiums
So
yourself.
when you get a work-related injury, let's say you get COVID, and it causes you to not be able to work, at that point, is an element of your damages in your workers' comp claim the fact that you've lost your income and you've lost your health insurance benefit?
Well, health insurance comes into play, and it's a little complicated dealing with fringe benefits depending on what your compensation rate is. If you're a low enough rate, you include the value of your fringe benefits to boost up your comp rate.
Okay, so yeah, so it's a formula type of a process.
Exactly, yes.
So, question that always comes to me from clients is they come to me and they say, I think I'm disabled, I'd like to file a claim, what should I do? I'll tell you what I tell them to do. I say to them, you have to call Jeffrey Kirshner, and he'll tell you what to do. But what do you tell them to do? What in that situation?
You're talking about Social Security now? Is that what
Yeah,
you're... Okay.
yeah.
So for Social Security, for people who are unable to work for 12 months or longer, but unless you have permanent paralysis or related threatening illness, Social Security really doesn't take your claim serious enough until you're off for at least 5 or 6 months. Because if it's only been a month or two, it's way too early in the game for Social Security to be convinced. They should call me, we should work it up. And then I usually will file for them the 5 or 6 month mark, because if your anticipated duration of your disability will be 12 months or longer, then you could get Social Security as well. So I always look at the 5 or 6 month window, but in month 1 or 2, if they know they've got serious back problems, whatever, come talk to me and we'll start lining up the process.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up on COVID and work-related injuries and disability, and we'll talk about some business issues.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP.
COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
So, Brian, you said at the break what I thought was unusually a good point.
So, thank you. I appreciate that. Checks in the mail. Not only are you able to pursue disability and workers' comp, but a lot of employers have short-term and long-term disability. How does that interplay with the government Social Security disability benefits and workers' comp, and where do you go with that?
So there are all type of private and non-private disability policies, and I always encourage people, whether it be comp, whether it be Social Security, we don't know how long they may take. We're going to pursue it and fight aggressively, but in the meantime, those are a little bit easier possibly to get. I always encourage people to look to see what policies they have. If they get short-term, if they get long-term disability, there is some coordination that comes into play. They've paid you for a period of time, but if comp pays you for that same period of time, those disability carriers have the right to get their money back. Same thing true with regard to Social Security. And in fact,
most of them have coordination of benefits.
Certainly the long-term disability policies, after 6 months when you apply, they actually put a provision in their policy that says you have to apply. And if you don't apply after a certain period of time, we're allowed to assume that you did apply and get those benefits, and so they automatically take that reduction. Yeah. But I always encourage people, any policy out there, look to see if you have a private policy.
So do you have them bring the policies in and look and help them work through those issues?
I do with regard to issues when it comes to disputed claims, looking at the language, because what's always important in those policies is mainly the definition of what it means to be disabled. Each policy is a little bit different. So even though they're disability policies, no two policies are exactly the same. They all have little technical difficulties.
They're like snowflakes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so we'll do a fast, quick study just on disability. Fred, he's disabled a year and a half ago. He's not worked. He wants disability. He needs money to live on. He has credit cards. And he's got questions. And this is what's interesting is you've got disability attorneys and you have financial crisis attorneys. And most disability attorneys, unlike Jeff, because we're all together and we work together on these things, don't understand the financial aspects of, is Fred going to need a bankruptcy even though he's getting disability insurance? Fred wants to know what to do. Should he use his credit? How's he going to live?
Well,
he doesn't have any income.
I'm not going to tell Fred that he should use his credit cards, but let's be honest. Fred is going to use his credit cards because that's the only way he's going to put food on his table. That's the only way he's going to keep a roof over his head until he starts to receive the Social Security disability that he's otherwise entitled to.
So you say, I just want to ask you a question. You say you're not going to tell Fred to use the credit cards because you can't tell him to use the credit cards.
I can't advise somebody to incur debt if they're going to file a bankruptcy.
Okay. But you could tell Fred that you know that example, as an example, Rick, if Rick went and used his credit cards on his own and I didn't tell him to do that, and then he used them and then he came in to see me to file a bankruptcy,
they would be
I'd have no
discharged
problem.
bankruptcy.
So Fred has to understand the Rick story is what it comes down to.
100%.
Okay. Everybody
Possibly the
understand?
Bob story,
all friends
too.
out there understand the Bob and the Rick story.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Fred's going to use those cards.
Right.
Because he needs the cards because he has no income coming in.
But Fred's got to be careful because Fred has to file his bankruptcy before.
That's the big question. You've applied for disability for him. You're going to get, once he gets his approved, he's going to get a big check, right?
Typically, there's a lump sum and then followed by
Because
monthly
of all
ongoing
the
benefits.
months that he's been
Correct.
waiting.
Your accrued benefit, if you file for Social Security disability benefits, the law states that you can reach back a year prior to the date you file your application. So you may have a year's worth of benefits, plus while the pendency of your claim is going on. So you could have a year, year and a half, 2 years, 2.5 years.
So all of a
past
sudden
due
he could be
benefits.
getting a $30,000
He
check.
could be getting a
Absolutely.
$50,000 check.
That's correct.
So are you saying he has to file the bankruptcy after he gets the check or before?
The bankruptcy code protects your right to receive a Social Security benefit. It doesn't protect it theoretically if you have received it.
So he needs to file the bankruptcy before he gets the check.
Yes, before he gets
If he
the check.
if he gets the check and he's got $50,000 sitting in the
He's
bank,
going to have to spend it before
he files the
Now,
bankruptcy.
it may still not be attachable because it's a Social Security benefit and other creditors can't go get that money.
But it goes into the bankruptcy. But in bankruptcy.
But in bankruptcy, the theory is, and the law seems to support, that a trustee could go take that money from him after he's received it.
Question for you. If you don't have your Social Security benefits in a completely separate account, if it's mixed with other monies.
That's a completely different.
Because with Social Security, what they do with claimants is they're encouraging, they want everyone to do direct deposit. And so always when we file, we have to give a checking account number and a routing number. And when
we
claimants
always
get
tell
money,
the client that that account is only for Social Security
well,
money.
that's the issue. Is the
And
money
use
gets
use
wired
a
in
different
right away.
account for everything
Yeah,
else.
we open up, I would tell a client to open up a new account and have that money get deposited into a segregated account and do not commingle any other kind of money from any other source.
That way, let's say you haven't filed bankruptcy and you're being sued by Visa and MasterCard and they get a judgment and they try and garnish the account. If that account only has Social Security money in it, that garnishment will not be effective and we can get it
But I think it's
dismissed.
critical that people know to separate their money, and
Always.
that's the beauty of what we all have goes on here is communication. You're right, is that other firms, even private attorneys, operate solely in a vacuum.
Independent, right.
We have communication. That's an
Yeah.
advantage.
In
I
fact,
have.
your point here, it's not just Social Security disability. That same exact rule we apply for clients that have Social Security income. You keep that money separate. That way it's protected against any of your creditors. Very important to do.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to migrate now to business issues from COVID. All right, and I want to talk about two things. The funny thing about COVID is there's a lot of money out there in the system from relief for COVID that some businesses have. The question is, what should you do with it? We'll take a break and then we'll answer that question.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
I love you too. Bye-bye. That was Jerry. Emma just said her first word.
Oh.
Jerry says hello and they'll be over soon.
Who's Jerry? Is he a friend of yours?
No. This Jerry. Our Jerry. And this is his wife and their little girl.
Time for announcements. So I remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. We've got a free webinar anytime you want. Just go online, go to thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, how to eliminate your debt and get a fresh start and live debt-free. To be free, you must be debt-free. The webinar addresses all of the methods we use to eliminate debt so you can preserve your future income for you and your family. The real key is if you get rid of the debt, you are then in a position where you can start living off of your current income and building some savings, which is critical to your future. You want to learn solutions using bankruptcy and solutions outside of bankruptcy. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Also remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. We're back to in-office consultations. If you prefer a Zoom or a telephone conference, we can do that. But you're now welcome to come back to the office and attend a conference in office like the good old days. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat Simasco or Jim Simasco, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, criminal law issues with Scott Weinberg. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. Also, we've got free reports available on the website anytime, resolving tax problems, the real solutions by myself and Jeff Linden, how to save your home from foreclosure, business formations, loans and grants for small businesses in Detroit, and the Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem. All right, so COVID-related issues. Here's what's weird out there is COVID has had such crazy impacts on everyone, okay? There's a tremendous amount of people that have suffered because of lost jobs that they wanted to continue because they couldn't work. There's a segment also of the economy that have taken advantage of the relief available from COVID and elected not to work and have actually built up cash reserves on an individual basis. Credit card balances are at a current state lower than they were in the year 2000, lowest since that time. And businesses have gotten relief as well, EIDL loans, PPP loans, earned retention credits, Restaurant Revitalization Act. There's money out there that has come, and some clients on a business perspective are sitting there saying to me, I have cash in the bank from all of these things, but what should I do because my business is not good. The state of the business is suffering and I don't know that it can make it. And that creates all sorts of issues to analyze. And here's the range. Should you take this money and start a new business venture? Should you continue to try and make a go of your current business? My answer to that question is this. If the business was suffering before COVID. And the only thing that COVID has done is drove it down further. If you don't have a plan that makes it clear to you that you can build it up and make it profitable, then you don't want to put that money into that business. That's not going to help you.
But you also have a big issue, which we're seeing a lot of, is are you properly utilizing those funds? Because the government is now looking at people who are took a lot of these sources of relief and saying, you fraudulently used the funds for other purposes other than what they were intended. And the lines are very vague on some of these
so you have to,
products.
that's the key point. You don't want to just grab the money and go take it out of the corporate account and then start a new business or pay off your credit cards or do something. You've got to do some clever planning when it comes to that, so that you're using the income from the business to take that money out to use for other purposes, and you use the money from the loans and the government funding to cover the interim expenses of the business, so that you're protected on that. But the broader play is, conceptually, is, let's say you know that business is going to tank. Well, you want to use the money then to pay off the debts that you have personal guarantees on. That's permitted because you're still using it for the business debts, but you want to pay off the ones that can attach to you personally, because you may not have a guarantee. You don't have a guarantee on PPP money. You don't have a guarantee on earned retention credits. You do have a guarantee on the EIDL loan, but you'd rather probably owe the government than owe a commercial bank. They're going to be more aggressive in collecting from you. So you have to evaluate that. And then the next issue is, if you want to start a new business, we're going a little bit short of time, but you have to make some entity decisions. You have to decide, should I be a sub-S Corp, or should I be a LLC, or should I be a C Corp? And there's differences. Generally speaking, small businesses, you want to be an S Corp or an LLC, which means the income passes through to you personally. You don't pay at the corporate level. But you need to come in and get planning advice on that between your lawyer and your accountant. And the other one I want to throw out there that people constantly miss is, if you're starting a new business and you're entering into a lease, you always need to review that lease carefully with a lawyer. The 8-point font, 20-page lease is all negotiable, and it's drafted to screw you. It's drafted by the landlord's attorney. But the landlord will give up on a lot of those issues if you ask for them. What are the big issues? Your guarantee. If they want one, you want to fight against it. If you have to give them one, you want to limit it. You want to fight about who's responsible for maintenance, and you want to fight and protect yourself on not paying excessive CAM charges. These are all negotiable. If you don't negotiate and fight over the lease, it's going to be the landlord's way, and you're going to regret that. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.